Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our morning get together live here on Facebook, where we take a look at the news we can find, important news, good news mostly, hopefully, from our city, from our state, from our country. And we combine that information with information provided by you through your questions, your comments, your ideas, and your suggestions. We put it all together so that we can hopefully have a more connected life here in Mexico as a community of English-speaking locals living in Puerto Vallarta. Connected to what, you may ask? Well, connected to one another and connected to Mexico, our way of life, our way of thinking, our culture, our heritage, our past, all things that have to do with living in this wonderful country of ours. Today is Thursday, April 28th, and it's always a pleasure to get together with you. And we start today's broadcast with one important question that should appear on your screen by way of a poll. And the question is very simple. The question is, were you offended by yesterday's broadcast? And the possible answers are yes or no. Why am I asking this question? Well, I was out at the movies yesterday afternoon with some dear friends, and one of my most trusted advisors for Coffee and Headlines said to me, well, how's your hate mail inbox after this morning's broadcast? And I chuckled it and I kind of just laughed, but I knew that I may have possibly ruffled some feathers through some of my comments. And then this morning, I got this very wonderful note from Robert Huber. I fear you might have offended your fan base with the Spanish versus English comment. And I answered, as you can see, I am aware of that, Robert. For better or worse, I don't think our programming is 100% agreeable, and some days the content will resonate favorably, and others it won't. It's part of the process, I think. I appreciate you coming forth and sharing your thoughts with me. But needless to say, you know, these kinds of things get me thinking, because ultimately I don't come here to try to offend anyone. I come here to share news and to share my opinion about certain things and to hopefully create options for you to be able to, where is that darn poll? I'm trying to see if the poll is active and if you are responding to it. Yes, okay, good. The reason why we're here is just to create connections. Do I have strong opinions about certain things? Yes, absolutely, I do. Specifically, as they relate to what we discussed yesterday. Am I happy that that Emiliano Zapata has become such a draw for English-speaking folks, whether they're living here or visiting our city? Of course, I'm glad. But at the same time, am I saddened by the fact that for every building that gets built in Emiliano Zapata, another Mexican family is displaced? because of the increased cost of living. Yes, I am also saddened by that. Something else that might have offended you: am I saddened by the visual pollution caused by some of the posters that are put everywhere by some of the performance venues? Of course, it bothers me. So, so I want to just make sure that we are on a friendly page, and that you know that it's just my opinion. And my wish continues to be that through what we offer here at Coffee and Headlines, we continue to increase the number of ways in which you can better connect with Mexico while you're here. So that's my 2 cents about yesterday. We'll take a look at the results from the poll in the second half of the program. Meanwhile, let us get started with our news. But before we do that, as always, we welcome everyone who is watching for the first time. So let us know that you're watching for the first time. You can do that by letting us know that you are new, and we'll give you a nice little welcome. In addition to that, if there's something truly important that you wish to bring up, please do so. And do so by adding a capital letter Q. And again, if you have any comments that you wish to share about yesterday's walking tour, or any of the comments that surfaced yesterday, please feel free to share them with me here, or feel free to send me a note. Ultimately, what we want is to be a place where everybody, or many people, or as many people as possible, feel excited to be at. Let's take a look at the news. Okay, so today we start about the maligned vehicle verification process, or Centro. We're going to talk about this because it stopped working, despite the fact that Governor Alfaro has been very clear in explaining why we have a verification center in Puerto Vallarta. It has been shut down because apparently the temporary permit that the verification center had to operate has expired, and no new permit has been issued. It is unclear to me whether this should be issued by the municipality or by the state government. I honestly don't understand how this thing works. And to add to this topic, another march, another protest against vehicle verification is scheduled to take place this afternoon at 5 p.m., starting in the intersection of Francisco Medina Asensio and Prisciliano Sanchez. I believe that to be the intersection where Sam's is located, and the march will continue along Medina Asensio towards City Hall. So please know that if you're heading southbound on Medina Asensio in the afternoon, do expect that traffic is going to be a little complicated. Yesterday, we talked about the bus routes that have been missing that used to cross from El Centro into Emiliano Zapata. And we have good news for you. The previous bus routes will resume on Monday, according to this and other news items that I found yesterday and this morning online. And while I was browsing through the news, I learned that our dear friends Kathleen and Todd from Licks have been paying for Ubers for their employees so that they can get to their shops on schedule. So kudos for you, Kathleen and Todd, for supporting your employees. That shows great leadership. And please know that as of Monday, you will not have to do that anymore. Let's see what else we have. With Gay Pride celebrations around the corner, at the end of May, Puerto Vallarta is once again banking on LGBT plus tourism in order to continue its financial or economic recovery after the pandemic. A little aside about gay pride and gay content in general. Not too long ago, somebody commented during the broadcast if Coffee and Headlines was going to do anything special for Pride. And at the time, I mentioned that we would bring this up in some kind of feedback or poll or something later on. This will happen tomorrow. Tomorrow, at the end of our broadcast, we will devote a little bit of special quality time to our LGBTQ viewers so that we can get a clear idea of what kind of content would you expect um, coffee and headlines to address that are particularly important to the gay community, the LGBTQ community. Because I am under the impression that there's already all kinds of information available in other forums. So it is not necessary for us to do something that is LGBTQ specific. But as always, I could be wrong, and I welcome your valuable feedback on this regard. And we will do that tomorrow after our regular broadcast is over. And it'll be part of the broadcast, of course. Now, let us take a quick look at the weather just to see what we can expect for the remainder of this work week. Okie dokie. Oh, wow. Antarctica is the only continent without a time zone. It exists outside the time space continuum. Okay, I didn't know that. I really didn't. But anyhow, our temperature right now is 27 degrees. It feels like 28. Our humidity is 56%. And our temperature in Fahrenheit degrees is 80 degrees. Our forecast for today is we are going to have a clear day with a high temperature of 32 and a low temperature of 20. Tomorrow, Friday, will be another clear day with a high temperature of 33 and a low temperature of 20. And on Saturday, we're going to have a clear day with a high temperature of 33 and a low temperature of 19. Moving right along with other headlines that I found that caught my attention, we continue with this one that I got thanks to my dear friend Denise Deramay, who runs the Banderas News website. We've learned through her very informative website that the 5th Puerto Vallarta shore fishing tournament is coming up this Sunday, May 1st. The competition will take place along the shoreline from the Malecon Beach in front of McDonald's all the way down to Cuates y Cuetes on Playa Los Muertos just north of the pier. And there are prizes. So if shore fishing is your thing, this is a place you may want to be. I don't fish, but I think just from looking at this photograph that it would be fun to watch all these people trying to do their own fishing. Elsewhere in the country, we mentioned a few weeks ago that Mexico's Senate and the Chamber of Deputies were discussing summer daylight savings as to whether this is something that Mexico should continue to observe or not. And we have just learned that the discussion about daylight savings has been tabled until September because the Senate is missing reports and important information which should come from the CFE, which is the electrical company, and the secretaries of revenue and the secretaries of energy. Moving right along, Cipolite, in case you didn't know, Cipolite is a beach in Oaxaca where swimming or sunbathing in the nude is allowed. But apparently, Cipolite understands a strong difference between sunbathing in the buff and having sex on the beach. So don't confuse one with the other. If you are found stooping in the nudist beach of Cipolite in Oaxaca, you will be fined 5,000 pesos and you will be forced to do community work. So there you have it. Go to Cipolite to put sunlight in all your body parts, including, oh my God, and now I'm thinking about that documentary. Never mind. It has nothing to do with Mexico, so we won't discuss Tucker Carlson here. But just no stooping, sunbathe, but no stooping. And moving right along, I have learned, and I don't know if you vape or not, I don't vape, but vaping, and that is the sale of vaping devices, is something that is not legal in Mexico. I didn't know about this. Apparently, Mexico's Senate has voted that buying or using or importing vapors, these devices that you use to smoke by heating tobacco and other substances, are not legal in Mexico. I didn't know. I don't know if anybody here vapes, and I don't know if you have a comment about this. from what I've read, and it's not much, vaping is not something that is very good for your health. So that's pretty much what I know. Let's see. Before we get into your comments, let me take a quick look at the poll results so that we can put that away if we have to. Show results in video. I see that 4% of you got offended by the broadcast yesterday. To 4% of you, I apologize. It is not my intention to offend anyone by sharing my very personal opinions here. I come here sharing my opinions because I feel comfortable doing so, and I hope you feel comfortable sharing your opinions as well, because it's not about agreeing or disagreeing. To the 12% that I offended somewhat, well, I hope I didn't ruffle your feathers, and I hope my comments did not apply to you. If my comments disturbed you, I would invite you to maybe ask yourself, are you connecting enough with Mexico? Because there's so many wonderful things to connect here with. I'm not saying don't congregate with people that come from the same place you come from. Do not congregate with people that speak your language. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is don't waste a beautiful opportunity to live in a foreign land where you can learn about what makes that land tick. And to the 84% of you, to the vast majority of you that I did not offend by yesterday's comments, I thank you, as always, for allowing me to be outspoken. And again, I hope I've created an environment through which, or in which, you can be as outspoken as I am, provided that we don't share our opinions to deliberately want to hurt or offend anybody else. That's the way we've always done things here, and that's the way we're going to continue to operate. And now let me take a quick look at your comments. Oh yes, starting with you, Gary. Yes, I have read that 2 members of the female National Guard have been abducted, so I'm not surprised that there are helicopters out there swirling. This news is upsetting. And the only reason why we haven't talked about it today is because this is just developing. So the information is very fluid at this time. If this is something that we can and should be talking about tomorrow, of course we will be bringing it up. Lots of good mornings, which is always nice to read. More comments about flying helicopters and questions. Tracy asks, do we know why? Again, Tracy, thank you for your question. I suspect it has something to do with these abductions, which is brand new news to me, and hopefully we'll have more information about this tomorrow. Let's see what else we have. Andrew Bleda says that it came up, the comments from yesterday. Well, I'm happy that these things come up, because things, when they're good or not good, they should be thought-provoking. So again, no intention to offend, but intentions to make us all think about ourselves and our surroundings, always. I was offended that you didn't stop for churros. Oh, Alan, thank you very much for that. I will stop for churros this week at some point, wherever you think I should be stopping for churros. I wasn't offended at all. I understand your feelings and don't disagree, speaking the truth. Let's see. Immigration is indeed a double-edged sword. Absolutely. Claude, who has been preparing their new home, my friends Claude and Lucas, I miss you so very much. I haven't been called Pacosito in forever. I used to be called Pacosito by my cousins when I was a teenager. I love that. Let's see. Linda has says that I think bilingual signage is helpful. Personally, I read in Spanish, then English, and congratulate myself if I understood the Espanol. You know, Linda, as Mexican as I want to be, I write and think in English for better or worse. Living in the United States for 2 decades made my brain switch. But I'm always grateful for people here in Puerto Vallarta that disseminate information in English and Spanish. We don't disseminate information in Spanish here because we are clearly a space dedicated for English speaking locals, but I take pride in throwing in our occasional snarky Spanish lessons into the mix. Let's see what else we have. The bus routes worked out so well the last year. Sad that they are returning. Traffic is already such a massive issue in the area. You know, Lucina, I agree with you, but also I know that some people are not as fit or as able to walk as I am. So it's a complicated issue, unfortunately, with the limited number of streets that go through downtown. I'm sure that some people are going to be happy, and I'm sure that other people will not be. But I hear you, and for better or worse, I side with your opinion. Um, Julie apologizes for calling Colonia Emiliano Zapata Gringolandia. I can understand why it appeals to English speaking locals. Luckily, Puerto Vallarta is a large area and there's something for everyone. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Let's see what else. The locals need to get to work. Hard for them as most take more than one bus. This is also true. Let's see what else. Maggie, as in Peggy, I'm an immigrant many times over from Poland to France to Canada and now spending extended time in Mexico. And as such, my understanding is that the process of either immigrating or receiving immigrants always changes both sides of the equation. As with everything else, it's a give and take. True, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Let's see what else. When the economy is almost solely driven by tourists, it's hard to see those changes. I think every city deals with this. It's a rough balance. Again, we're on the same page. Uh, let's see what else. Let's see what else. Thank you very much for all your comments. There is a vape store on Calle Morelos by the Vanilla store. There are a bunch of vape stores out there, and 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 also there are stores now. I know of at least one store that is selling, like CBD and marijuana brownies and gummy bears and things like that. I think it's great, but I'm also mindful of the fact that these stores may not be operating completely legally. So I kind of tend to not want to bring them up specifically here in the broadcast because we don't want anybody shut down. All we can hope for is that Mexico's Senate will get their act together and come up with new laws and legislation that will allow for all these places to exist. Um, Thank you very much for your very thoughtful comment, Albert. Please don't limit your comments. You always are careful to be aware of people's feelings and ask the question, did I offend you? I have to disagree with you because I know myself, Albert, and I know my temperament and I know my personality, and I will be the first person to say I am not always careful. I fuck up as much as anybody else, but you are right. Oh, there goes a chopper. Ay, Dios mío. You are right in saying that I always um, take my responsibility for my words. Let's see what else we have. Snarky Spanish sounds like a perfect grow topic, says our dear friend Eric. You're giving it away, Eric. I know that Eric is up to something at his co-working hotel in terms of learning opportunities. I love it. Let's see what else we have. More comments about about choppers. Well, again, if there is something that we should report, we will be so very glad to report it tomorrow morning, and also tomorrow morning we will talk a little bit more about specific LGBTQ things that we should get that we could be considering here at Coffee and Headlines. You get pissy, yes, I do, but you look at yourself and correct it if necessary. I try to, absolutely. Um, oh my goodness! So we have helicopters all over the place. I think this is something that we are going to definitely have to bring back up tomorrow. We try to focus on the good stuff, but occasionally we also have to understand why these things are happening. So this brings us to the end of today's broadcast. Thank you very much for your feedback. Thank you very much for letting me know that sometimes I get a little crazy. I will be glad to own it. But in reverse, I hope that I am also making all of us think about stuff as it relates to being here. That's all we aim to do. And here we go. Thank you for being here. I'll see you again tomorrow. We'll start looking at those helicopters right now so that we can find out what's going on. Have a great day.